All right. All right. How are things?
Yeah, good. Can't complain. Just another week living someone else's dream.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
What about
Well, yeah. Think the school year's finally, coming to an end, and it's these. I don't know what it is, but almost the entire last month, the kids here in Bavarian schools, they don't really have any. Well, they do have they do have classes, but it's very informal. And last week they returned all their books. So what they're doing now is mostly socializing and just going on excursions and trips and stuff, So Anton is currently today they are looking at the Olympia Park here in Munich.
Oh, okay.
Have you been there?
I have been there. Yes,
Yeah,
I've been up the tower. Has it still got like a rock? Still got a rock museum in the top of it, or something like that? You still have
I
a rock
think
and
so.
roll
Yeah,
museum
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's currently being renovated, the stadium and everything, because it's. Well, it was built for the Olympics in '72, but it's listed now, so it's the architecture. It is
Heritage
something,
listed.
Yeah, it is something very special, I must say. Either you like it or you don't, but there's always some. I mean, most people have an opinion about it.
Yeah, it's I actually quite like the area where that is.
Yeah.
Stadium's nice. What do they call it? Is it a TV tower? Is that what it's called, or the
It
Munich
is
TV tower?
It is an observation tower. It was never a TV tower. It was just built as a landmark. And up there's also a restaurant.
Yeah. So I remember going up there, maybe I don't know, 2015, something like that. Maybe 2013. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I think I only went up there. Went up there once, but you're right. The architecture around the roof, I think, of the stadium would have been quite futuristic, I guess, back in the 70s. Nice bit of a green zone there. I've got a couple of photos. Nice place to take a photo actually on the bridge that runs across the road with the traffic. Traffic behind you.
Yeah. Yes.
And BMW Welt, really great free attraction in Munich, or it used to be free. I don't know whether it's still free to.
It's not free anymore. No, because they significantly upgraded and expanded it. So now it's a paid thing. You have to pay. I am not. I don't know what the current entrance fee is, but. It is a good. It's a nice attraction, really. I mean, BMW World is something that attracts a lot of tourists.
The first time I went there, I went to the museum over the road that's shaped like the carburetor or the engine cylinder or whatever it is.
Yes, yeah.
And the next time I came, at that stage, they didn't have BMW Welt on the other side of the road. But then when the next time I came back to Munich, they had BMW Welt, and I think I went there twice. And then the next time we went back, we went there as well, because it's nice looking at all the BMW cars and motorbikes, and they have a couple of concept cars in there and stuff like that. So it's but it was free back then. So
no, it's a great place to they're hosting a lot of events as well. You can rent it privately for private events as well. There's a hall. I don't know. It's just it's a small music hall, really, but the acoustics are not very good. It is very futuristic. Still, the expansion they've built, and I think the most famous thing that happened there was an album release from Coldplay, and Coldplay came and gave a live set within that little. Fantastic. It was a very intimate concert. And it was sold out in, 10 minutes or something like that. Cool. So, yeah.
Apparently on social media today, there was some more intimate stuff going on at a Coldplay concert in America last night. Did you see that on social today?
No, what was that?
They were in Boston or somewhere, and they had like a kiss cam on, taking photos of the audience, and they put it on this one couple, and this guy jumped away. So obviously he was having an affair, and it came out later that he was the CEO of like a $1 billion software company, and she was his head of marketing or something, and they were both married. So it was all coincidental. Yeah, they just put the camera on him, and they said, and he just jumped away. And Chris Martin actually said, "Oh, are these guys maybe having an affair or something like this, joking?" And they actually were and got sprung. Yeah, like, big news because he was, like I said, he's a billionaire or something and owns some massive big software company in America, and she's one of his employees. So, the shit will be hitting the fan there, no doubt.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just can't really go anywhere in public anymore.
No,
without the risk of being. Yeah. You gotta have your shit in order.
Too many people with cameras in there these days.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this because it's I don't know, Google they encourage you to upload your photos from wherever you go. I mean, I don't know if they are trying to ultimately map the entire world and put it online. That would be a huge undertaking. But if you, with the help of all the users, all the Google users, you could probably achieve something. I think it's sad. I don't know what your opinion about it is, because does everything need to be photographed these days? I mean.
Oh, look, I'm a big photographer. I take lots, so I would say, I do. But I reckon I've got about 100 gig of photos stored on Google's.
Probably me too. Yeah. I would
Google's
reckon
cloud.
Too. Yeah.
I don't necessarily trust that they'll stay there forever, so I tend to double up and make a copy of the most important stuff on external drives too, just in case something ever happens. But when they started doing that, I think it started with Dropbox. It was groundbreaking that you could take a photo on your phone and it would automatically upload somewhere else. But like all good ideas, things started with Dropbox and moved on. Things start with Nokia, move on, don't they? Someone starts a good idea and then someone else improves it, I guess, all the time. That's the story of life, isn't it?
It is. I have hard drives that I probably wouldn't even know how to connect these days, because they changed the newer computers. You would probably need an adapter to hook it all up. It's a bit of a jungle now. They've sort of settled on USB-C for everything, but in 10 years time, who knows?
Could certainly be different, couldn't it?
Probably, yeah. But I have a couple of very 20-year-old hard drives. Back then, 20 years ago, I got a 1 gigabyte or 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte, I think it was.
Fantastic back in them days.
Yeah, it was huge compared to what we have now. I have these small black ones and orange ones.
Piles of hard drives.
And on each of these, you probably have at least 1 terabyte, don't you?
Yeah, I think one of them's, for sure. But it's like when I remember buying the first digital camera, and I think like the memory card wasn't even a gig. It was like a megabyte or something, like 32 megabytes of storage. That was back in 2003 or something like that.
But that's when you came from having like a film in your camera.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
That would be like at maximum 36 pictures, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the great thing, though, isn't it, about digital cameras and phones? If the photo's no good, you can just delete it. You're not paying Mr. Kodak to develop 24 photos and 18 of them are shit that you want to throw in the bin once you open the packet, isn't it?
That's true. There's a movement, though, that the good old analog photography is coming back, because it's a bit like vinyl records or anything not digital. It's sort of
definitely
having a revival, and there's certain nostalgia around that.
Well, you should always have a hard copy of everything that's really important, I guess, shouldn't you? But I wouldn't actually know where to start printing out photos with the amount of photos that I have. I can't remember the last time I bought a photo album, a hard photo album, to put put pictures in. I used to get like ones done on Vistaprint and Snapfish and things like that at times, where it would come in a little booklet and, you just upload your photos to them. But I don't think I've done that for a long time either. So that's why.
So again, we forgot to introduce.
Yes.
This is Southern Summers and Northern Winters. As usual, the introduction comes like 5 minutes into the episode, but we're still here. We're just chatting along, Mark and I. And
Most
Mark, you getting excited to go new places within the next week?
I actually feel a little bit underprepared because I haven't actually packed anything or organised anything. Normally, I'm a pre-packer at least a week beforehand, or at least I've got all my camera gear and stuff that I take ready, and it's all over the place at this stage. So I haven't actually done anything. I know it only take me half an hour in reality, but I have this anxiety that I get over it where I go, okay, it should just be sitting there for like a week just in case I forgot something, so I can add something to it, and things like that. But I think we're gonna pack some suitcases maybe tomorrow afternoon, start on it. The problem with having a daughter that lives overseas, she wants you to bring her plenty of stuff from Australia, so which makes it hard to. Well, it doesn't make it hard to pack. It just means we've got to lug around extra stuff. It'd be all right if we're flying straight to China, but because we've got to go to Cambodia for 4 days, so we'll have half a suitcase full of different food that she wants and bits and pieces, and she wants some clothes, and she wants this computer brought over that she left here, and all this sort of.
So you're starting with Cambodia, and then you go to China.
Yeah, then I go to China.
So you have to be careful with if it's food, that it's not.
Yeah, no, it'll just be like packet stuff. She wants like some pasta and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they don't sell some sort of pasta that she likes in China, and they don't sell mac and cheese and all this sort of stuff that she wants us to bring over for her, and so that'll take up a little bit of the suitcase. So I was actually thinking I might have to take a bigger suitcase myself, because normally I just have the small one. I just have the carry on, even though I check it, but Rebecca then takes a bigger one. But depending how much room this stuff that Willow wants takes up, I might have to take a bigger suitcase this time to get us through. But we'll see what happens when I pack it all up. But so she's always, and that's okay. I mean, she misses things from home that she can't buy in China.
Yeah, of course.
We're the only outlet for it. But like I said, it'd be a lot easier if we had been going to China first, I guess, and then got rid of it. But hey, it's all right. Once we get on and get off and get on and get off, it'll be there and unpacked. So it'll be a lot lighter coming home when we head back to Australia. So
there are these things that when you live overseas, or as me, I don't live in my native country. It's there are things that you sort of miss, and then you really enjoy it when you're home. For me, it's certain types of bread that you can only get in Denmark. But I mean, I have to be fair and say that the Germans, they do make good bread. They're really, really good on bread. But then there are also various sandwich spreads and stuff that the Danes, they're very, very local to, and I can't get them here. For instance, one of the things that I really do miss is the fish cakes that they make in Denmark. It's very typical to Denmark, but the Germans, they just can't make them the same way. It's just, and you can even get the minced fish meat almost prepared just to bake the cakes on your frying pan.
What fish do they make it out of?
They make it out of either completely all white fish, like cod and trout and stuff like that, or they mix it with a little bit of salmon. And sometimes they can even put a little bit of smoked fish into it, so it has a smoky flavor as well. I do prepare the white ones, though, the white fish.
I must admit, I like a good fish cake. My dad used to make fish cakes. He was a bit of a fisherman, so he'd come home from the beach and fillet some fish and mince it all up with a bit of potato and breadcrumbs.
Exactly like that.
And fry them. And one thing I always remember about my dad, like he'd fillet the fish, but then I always remember him like he'd miss a bone and he'd be pulling the bone out like with his teeth, like a little the fine fish bones. Yeah, I can still see him in the kitchen doing that to to fillet properly before he made fish cakes out of it.
Yeah.
So I quite like the fish cake as well. They're nice.
It's a nice. It's one of the. I'm not a huge fish eater myself, but I do like that. Yeah.
I'm going to say something strange. Some fish can be too fishy.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Particularly for me, it's sweetwater fish. I can't have that. Yeah. They have a very sometimes a very earthy taste as well. And that's where I'm out.
Surprisingly, I would be. I don't think we would. We might have fish 2 or 3 times a year, literally. In our house here. And generally it's this fish bought from the supermarket that's pre-packed and pre-crumbed, or sometimes I buy some fillets out of the fish display and crumb it myself, bit of egg and bit of breadcrumb and egg whitewash, and chuck it in the pan. I don't actually really know why I don't eat more fish. Like I said, I like the mild whitefish fillets, like you said, but it's I don't know. It's just not something I go for a lot. Like sometimes when I go to the pub and they have shark, which is pretty popular in Australia, they call it flake. So it's a nice meaty type of fish, like white fish, but firm. Firm and tender.
Tender,
it's firm. It's not mushy when you cut it. It's sort of like cutting a steak, basically, like a tuna steak.
That must be odd. Yeah, because you expect a certain texture for anything from the sea, like fish, like fish meat. I remember Alex said once, it was also in Australia, she said, she tried croc, and it was also sort of meaty in the texture, but it tasted like chicken.
Yeah.
So it was, and it wasn't really, she wasn't overly thrilled about eating croc because but I remember once my father said, he said any predator never tastes good. I mean, it's
shark does. I can tell him that.
So shark is tasty.
Yeah, shark's nice. It's very nice. Like I said, a very firm fish fillet though, so it's quite easy to eat because it doesn't break up quite as easy as others. But other than that, but you buy that fish and chip shop, so generally sell shark, or like I said, they call it flake. It's like a gummy shark, so it's not a great white or something. It's a type of shark that doesn't really have any bones in it. Like it's got a backbone, like like cartilage. So so it's not a bony type of shark. So I don't think you're allowed to catch great white and fillet it. But this other type of shark that this gummy shark they call it, so is really popular in this part of Australia anyway. I don't know about in the north. They probably fry a lot of barramundi and stuff like that from the Northern Territory up that way. But pretty easy. A lot of people go fishing for these gummy sharks. So they're probably only come maybe 3 to 4 foot long. So they're not, they're not 15, 20 foot long like you can see a great white. So so they're easier to catch off the beach. And we live near this beach that's maybe 30 kilometres away, 40 kilometres away. And in summer, fishermen come from all over Victoria to go there and try and catch these gummy sharks. So so it's a pretty popular location, little town called Sea Spray, and which by the sea, so Sea Spray for some reason, that's what it's called. So, so it's a popular location. But going back to what you were saying about things from home that you like, I guess it's sort of similar in reverse too. Like when you go to some countries, there's food that you remember, obviously, that you're going to get back there and try. And you can have that same food sometimes in your home country, but it's not quite the same. So I think sometimes it's where you are and what you're doing at the time you're eating it and experiencing it that's half the battle to enjoying it. Like I always love having pork knuckle when I go to Germany because it's better than the pork knuckle I can find in Australia. And partially maybe that's because it's if I'm sitting in a beer hall drinking a litre stein of beer and lugging down a pork knuckle, well, it's about the experience, isn't it, really?
It is. It is. There's this here in Europe, people go to Greece and they have the Retsina. It's a very specially tasting white wine, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's aged in barrels that has a very particular flavor, or gives this a very specific flavor, and it's really something. It has to be, in my opinion, it has to be ice cold. The wine, and in Greece it tastes really nice, but if you see it in a local supermarket and you buy it here locally, it's not the same because you're not sitting somewhere in Greece.
It's all about the experience, isn't it?
Yes.
Sometimes, that's half the battle, I think. So
yes, it is. It is. So it's funny with food in general that you and that's we're currently following. I think I mentioned this. Someone Feed Phil, a Netflix series where he goes all around the world and try the local cuisines, and it's just there's so many tasty things everywhere. Food is really what's common amongst world population. I could really, I truly believe it can also, break down barriers when you sit down and you have a local meal, and people want you to try the best of what they have, don't they? So,
you think that Feeding Phil is just a bit of a takeoff of Anthony Bourdain, or what's your take there?
Didn't he cook in his shows?
No, he didn't, I don't think. But he was a chef, though, wasn't he? I think he did a lot of drinking in his shows.
Yeah, yeah. There was another chef.
But I have watched Feeding Phil. I've watched a few episodes of that. So, but
they're nicely. It's a nice production. They're beautifully filmed and everything. So it's it's good. It's just good. Speaking of
about 7 or 8 seasons.
Yeah, eight seasons of 8 episodes or something like that. So they're quite.
Came across my Netflix feed the other day. Actually,
They were in Adelaide recently, so that was kind of So that's one of the in the new season. There's an episode from Sydney and Adelaide. Yeah.
I've never been to Adelaide.
I have. So I've been somewhere where you have.
Been to Adelaide Airport, but I've never actually been to. Funnily enough, we were discussing it earlier this year that we should take a road trip there. It's about 12 hours from where we live, so we could do that in a day. We could get up at 6 a.m. and and drive and be there by night, because I'd really like to go to the Barossa Valley outside and drink some of the wine that's around there. And there's actually a German town called Handorf there.
Yes, we were there too. Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind doing that. But I was suggesting it the other day to my wife. I said, well, instead of going overseas again in December or something, why don't we go there? And she wasn't biting though. She wanted to go overseas.
Oh, see, okay. She didn't take the bait.
Okay. No, she didn't. In the end, it'd be no cheaper to go to Adelaide than it would be to go somewhere in Asia, because it'd probably be dearer actually for me to go on a 2-week holiday.
Yeah, probably. So you would go on the Great Ocean Road, or is there a highway more inland?
Yeah, you could go the Great Ocean Road, or you can go on I think it's called the Western Highway, and it takes you sort of inland through some towns, once like Stawell, and then it takes you over the border, and you can actually go through a region called Great Western, which is another wine region.
Okay.
On the Victorian side of the border, which I've been to before. Once upon a time in a prior life, I did a hospitality course, and we went there on an excursion, or on a camp, like not a camp, just a getaway for this course I was doing to this wine region. So it's quite a nice area. We went there maybe 2 or 3 years ago with the kids to the Grampians. It's called Grampians National Park. So nice area, waterfalls, like rock escarpments and stuff like that. It's probably Victoria as a whole. Once you get out of Melbourne, it's pretty sparse, like in a lot of areas. Once you get off a main highway. So over there, was the same as sort of where I live. There's once you get off the highway, there's a lot of little towns, but no real big towns.
In Victoria, there's a very picturesque. Is it called Aylesbury, Aylesburg or something? I can't remember the name, but it was very picturesque, very scenic, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So
the further you get from Melbourne, the nicer it gets. I've got nothing against Melbourne. I love cities, and I love Melbourne. Melbourne's one of my favourite cities in the world, and we go to Melbourne quite regularly for weekends every couple of months because there's always something going on and something to do. But yeah, there's certainly a lot to be said for getting out of the city, especially, I'd say the way I live out this way, because it's between. After you go past my town, there's probably only two or three towns that have got 5,000 people before you get to the New South Wales border. So in the next 300 kilometres, there's not much out here if you want to go skiing or fishing or hunting or in the forest or there's plenty out this way.
I can remember. We went to north of Barossa Valley. We went all the way up to Flinders Ranges, which is really nice. And I mean, if you haven't been there, Mark, I can really recommend that. That was one of the coolest campsites on our entire journey because we went there and we stayed in. You have to pay a fee because it's a national park. So you enter that but then you could just drive around and there were a couple of campsites there, I think. But we went to the main campsite, and it was really nice. So but you're not campers per se, aren't you? You could actually buy a roof tent and put it on top of your new car.
Yeah.
And just
I could, but my wife wouldn't be thrilled with that. So. Well, funnily, maybe you've seen more of Australia than I have, and I might have seen more of Europe than you have. Who knows?
That's very likely. That's usually the way it goes, isn't it?
It is. Like, I've never been to Western Australia. I've never been Northern Territory. I've been to Queensland once. I've been to New South Wales a bucket load of times, but Tassie a few times. So, but... I keep saying one day when I get older and the will to sit in a plane seat for 10 or 12 hours, I'll get in a car and see more of my own country. But in all reality, Australia is really, really expensive. So it's cheaper, even with airfares. It's still cheaper for me to holiday in Asia than it is to holiday in Australia. Like, I was looking the other day to go to Adelaide. I thought I'll just have a look at the costs. So to stay at Handorf in a caravan park in a cabin there. So just you're for a 2-bedroom cabin, you're looking at, I would say it was probably around 150 or 160 euros a night. Like, I could go to Bali and stay in a place for 25 euros a night. Like, that had a swimming pool and breakfast was included, so
it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. I would have to drive there. That's probably not too bad, but by the time I drove over there, drove around, drove back, I'd be looking at another 300 or 400 euros in petrol and things like that. So it would soon add up. And if I went out to eat every night, if we went out to the pub or, some mild takeaway joint or restaurant, then for 3 of us, I'd be still looking at another 60 odd euros a night, where in Asia I could go out for probably 10 or 15 euros a night for tea, so it's really just cost prohibitive a lot of the time. I might as well just go overseas.
Yeah, but it's same thing with Northern Europe. Southern Europe is a bit cheaper here, but Northern Europe is also fairly expensive. Germany is still okay. And what they say up in Scandinavia, where it's ridiculously expensive, is always, but we pay our staff according to union rates, and it's all good, but it just makes everything very expensive, and for tourists coming from other countries where they are not as well paid, because the Danes or the Scandinavians, they pay whatever, because the salaries are higher for everybody, so they can pay it. But for people coming from other countries, it's really expensive. I mean, it sort of sets
you've got a bad exchange rate too.
It sets an upper barrier to what people can afford and how long they can stay. Really,
Well, basically, if I go to Europe, my money's cut in half, literally, because, the Australian dollar's, I think at the moment it's worth 48 British pence, so not even half, and I think it's worth about 56 euro cents or something like that. It's never been worth a lot of euros, but I remember in the financial crash or whatever it was, 2010, 2012, when all the housing shit went up, I remember buying some euros for 89 that I got 89 cents for the Australian dollar back in them days. But also the Australian dollar was buying nearly $1.20 US at that stage as well, and now it only buys 67, 68 cents or something like that. So,
okay.
That makes it a little bit more expensive. You might think you've got a lot, but then once you convert it to half the price, it's it's not a lot in the end.
Is it still speaking of travel currency and stuff? Because what I do, I'm not traveling as much as you guys, but what I do is that I just use my card, whatever card, credit, debit card, and pay the whatever exchange rates the shop or the card provider, card issuer will provide. Does it make sense to buy currency, hard currency, and bring with you?
I would assume that your fees are probably lower since you're all in euro, isn't it? So if you go to Italy, you're still paying in euro, the same as in Germany in euro. That would be correct. So you haven't got a currency conversion fee, I guess.
No.
So a lot of times, like if I go somewhere, you've got a withdrawal fee, which is a percentage. Then you've got a currency conversion fee, which is a percentage. So I generally use I have a couple of travel money cards, one through Revolut and one through Wise, where I actually stack the currency in that currency before I go, and so then I can just withdraw in their currency already. So whatever day I put the money in, say I want to put some Chinese money in today, well, it just gets today's exchange rate and it goes into Chinese dollars. So when I go to China, I can just pay with that, and it still has a minor fee, maybe 10 cents or 20 cents a transaction. But, sometimes I remember in Europe at the start when I first went, I was paying $4 or $5, for every time I took money out, out of the ATM or things like that. So, it's definitely the way to go. I just, whenever I've got some spare money, I just shove it in a different currency. I've got a list of about 10 currencies in this card where I've got, money from all over the place, because I know sooner or later I'll go back, and often I just save little bits and pieces where I can. Some days
that's good.
A lot of days, this may not make sense to some people, and it doesn't add up to a lot, but if I think about it, at the end of every day, I actually go into my bank account and say I've got $133.20. Well, I'll shave the $3.20 off at the end of every day and stick it in my money card in a different currency. So then it's sort of like de facto saving. So over a year, it might add an extra, $300 or $400 or $500 into.
Well, hello, man. That's that's a lot of money.
Save something just by shaving, the $3 or $2 or $4, just by rounding down to the nearest.
Yeah, but
every day.
That's actually a very good advice, because that's the key to, because a lot of people saying, how can you afford to travel and how can you, it's not possible. It is possible if you do it like that. I mean, you don't, some people who say, I can only travel every second or third year. Yeah. That is possible if you do it like you do, Mark. Because I mean, I know this sounds very privileged, but $3-4 a day, I guess most people can actually afford that, particularly if they don't smoke, if they don't drink too much. I mean, if they are wise with their money in general.
If you gave up a cup of coffee every day in Australia that you bought out, you'd soon save. A cup of coffee these days, you might get one for $5.50 at the cheapest, probably $6.50, $7 in places. So you buy one of them every day, there's $50 a week. There's $2,500 a year you're spending on a cup of coffee. So there's certainly ways to save.
Right.
You just got to prioritize what you want to do, I guess.
Exactly right.
Take your lunch to work. Things like that. There's a way.
True.
There's a way to do it, but convenience. Some people prefer prefer the convenience of, of not having to take their lunch, I guess, or make their coffee at home. They want to buy coffee, and that's fine. That's fine too. But for my choice, I would. And don't get me wrong, I buy coffee out. There's no problem there. But, there's always a way to save more if you really want to save more to travel. That's more what I'm getting at. You can save that money if that's something you want to do.
It's sort of a mental exercise, is it? I mean, you make sure that you're conscious about, how often do you buy a coffee when you're in town, and how often do you say, no, I can wait until I get home, because I mean. Yeah. I do enjoy. Last night, we in the newly opened beer garden, they've opened a corner with an ice cream shop.
Yep.
So I said to Alex, I want to go for an ice cream. So we just went for a stroll. It's 900 meters away from our home. So I said, why don't we go there? And we had a couple of ice creams, and yes, sure. We could have saved those money, but it's also sometimes about the event itself, So
you got to treat yourself.
Yeah. It's a balance, like everything. Yeah, it's a balance. Yeah. So
it is like I guess it's probably easier for some people, for me, or maybe even you, to sit here and say, okay, if you do that. But I mean, in reality, some people, I guess, can't afford to travel no matter what they do. I mean, that's the reality of life, isn't it? Like,
of course.
There's a certain element that are living week by week, paycheck by paycheck, and that's and when you break it down to that, well, then it's probably near on impossible to save to travel a lot, I guess. So
absolutely.
I mean, people don't think I'm saying that everyone can do it. It's just you've got to have a certain amount of disposable income at your beck and call that you can put aside or can afford to save, literally.
But one of the things that because we do the same thing, we're saving for Anton's year in Denmark starting next summer, and that's a considerable cost. So we do that every month, even before we start looking at our paychecks. It's just already gone. It's already set aside. So we never even have the money at our disposal. There. It's just we don't think about it. It's just convenient for us to just everything that we really need to save up to is just first priority. As soon as it comes in, it goes out again of the account, and it's not to be thought about until we need the money,
So you need it. Like I have a list of bank accounts that every week or every fortnight when I get paid, I put money in, and some I've been putting $20 in for the last 4 or 5 years. I've got things planned. I've got a bank account called the Trans-Siberian, and that's one of my bucket lists, and I put $20 into the fortnight, and I have since 2020 when we come home, and I think it's got like $2,500 in it. I don't touch it. I just put $20 every fortnight in it out of my pay because I can afford to put that in there. And one day when that becomes a reality and Russia's maybe back open to the rest of the world in a big way, well, then I'll enact that. And I've got maybe half a dozen accounts like that. So every fortnight I put $120 in these different accounts that I've got different things saved for. I've got like a South America account that I put $20 in because one day I want to go there. So
That's a good idea.
I dribble little bits and pieces in. I've got one that's called rental car. So if I ever come back to Europe and I want to rent a car, I've got all these bizarre accounts that I just dribble either $10 or $20 in a fortnight because I've got some disposable income, and
that's cool.
Otherwise, I'm just going to spend it on something else. It's just going to go somewhere. So I put it towards.
It's never wasted money. It's never wasted money because, I mean, that Trans-Siberian thing, you need another 10 years anyway to save up for that. So where nobody knows where Russia is in 10 years.
Well, this is true. I mean, there's Australians going to Russia. Like, you can actually go there, but you can't. You need to take a pile of cash. You can't use the banking system, so you can't tap anything. So you've got to. I don't really feel like lugging around Russia with $10,000 in me, in my suitcase or something like that. So that's the. Actually, I follow an Australian YouTuber. He must have married a Russian chick, and he lives in Russia, and he goes all over the place. And he lives just out of Moscow, and he's always going to shows and like festivals and things that they've got on in the city and here and there, and it looks fantastic. Like doesn't look like the West sanctions have affected it whatsoever. Like shopping centres are full of brands where companies that we know have closed and then reopened under a different name to get around the sanctions.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually looks. He reckons it seems no real different than what it was before the war.
A couple of Danish companies have, gone into a shitstorm because their products were found in high profile stores in Russia, in spite of them claiming that they were out of Russia. There are ways to do this, and I'm sure, officially they said, we didn't know about this. Of course you did. Come on.
It's like third-party suppliers. Like he was in the supermarket and he was like, here's Coke. This one's made in Poland. This one's made, somewhere else. But, still sat there. It's just a token measure. It's to appease people. Like these sanctions.
Oddly enough, as soon as the war in Ukraine started and sanctions were put on Russia, these companies, they had a substantial increase in their sales to Belarus.
Belarus. Yeah, that's it. Dead right. So, you know what? I think all sanctions actually do in a lot of ways is to make countries more innovative in ways to either get around it or to build a product sometimes that is possibly better or equal. Like, once again, I'll say my two favorite words on YouTube. On YouTube the other night, like I was watching a doco about America banning Nvidia from, exporting their chips to China because they don't want China to, be ahead of them technologically. So what China have done is created a whole different way of doing it. Instead of using one chip, they've developed a way that they can line up 4 chips and join it together to make a similar powered chip as to what Nvidia have in one chip. So all it does is cause countries to become more innovative. And that's what, so don't sell your highest chip to them, but over the to the same product with, different ways. So China are joining all these less powerful chips together to try and make a chip that's equivalent to the one chip that Nvidia has. So, and what will happen is China will keep building their systems like that, and then they'll start exporting them, and then all of a sudden we'll have a war or a competitive against, 2 different systems running everything, and which will then just cause more trouble, because
don't Nvidia produce their chips in China anyway?
I thought they did, but apparently they're an American company. I don't know.
I'm sure they are, but production, manufacturing?
I think maybe Taiwan Semiconductor might make them, but how can America ban a public commercial company from selling things to another country? Like maybe America's a bigger market. I don't know, because you would think if China was their bigger market, they'd say, well, buzz off, bros. Like, we'll sell to China. But all it does is make countries like China more innovative, and they'll sooner or later they'll find a way around, what you're restricting them to do. Actually, big China in the news big time in Australia this week because our Prime Minister is in China for 6 days, and the local Western media are up in arms because he hasn't gone to meet Donald Trump, but he's been to China for his meeting with Xi Jinping, and sat down, had a banquet with Xi Jinping, and things like that, and and so he should, because 1 in 4 Australian jobs is directly employed through our exports and imports from China, and
exactly right.
So China makes up 25% of our import-export market, where America makes up 5% of it. So why would our Prime Minister want to be running to meet Donald Trump when it has no financial benefit greatly to us at all? That's why we don't care about his tariffs. Like it's
crazy. You're exactly right. It makes sense that he will sort of make sure to have a good relationship with the Chinese. And I gotta say, I'm not particularly pro China or anything, but they're more reliable in recent times than anything coming out of that administration that they currently have in the U.S. So, the tariffs and everything may affect also the European Union quite substantially. The thing about it is, because they're currently here discussing about should we negotiate, and Trump is trying to negotiate individual deals with all countries. It's not possible in the European Union. He tried and failed. The European Union is one tightly knit unit, and you can't individually make deals. He was trying that in order to split the European Union, and but it didn't work. So the thing is, no matter what you agree with him, he may reverse that in 24 hours. I mean, so he's so unreliable that we just stopped caring.
And pretty much all it does is once again is push countries to probably trade with China and people like that more than they do America, because China have a free market like the world should have, you can't rely on what Trump says. So
no, absolutely not.
China
not
and Xi Jinping are on a bit of a charm offensive, I think, all over the world to try and attract people to buy because free market, we can do this, and so why wouldn't you?
It was so funny because was it in February that Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, was sitting in the Oval Office and Trump was, he was lecturing him and said he didn't have the cards to negotiate anything. I think what will happen eventually is that the U.S. won't have the cards to negotiate much if they continue down this path, because the rest of the world, we just, as you say, we just innovate and maneuver around, and make sure we can make deals. What's happening? The European Union is making deals with Canada at the moment, with China, all these other important, Mexico, and so in a year or two, if he continues down this path, there just won't be any cards to deal for
He'll
him.
be out of a job, and America will be stuck in the shit, like having to spend the next 10 years rebuilding all their relationships with every other country, while he's sitting in the background, without any clout. Like it's.
I had a talk with a good friend just the other night, and we agreed on this. And he said, the thing is, in 250 years ago, Europeans immigrated to what was not even the United States back then, but they started, to immigrate and sail across the ocean. The people who did this were people who were not really satisfied with their lives here in Europe, and they, sought better lives elsewhere. I guess if you put it, very black and white in contrast, these people had different values than most Europeans. So they sort of took off and found another life there. So generally, what we've been believing over the past few hundred years was that, it's still a Western society, and the Americans, they have the same values, share the same values as most of us in Europe, when that's really not the case, probably. I honestly don't think that we're alike in many ways. Obviously, we are. We share many of the same ones, but there are fundamental values that we just don't share, and that's becoming increasingly clear. So, because otherwise, how could they elect a man like that twice? It's just one of those things that, obviously we are not alike. So it's a democratic democratic process, but let's just get used to the fact that we obviously don't share the same values, and let's move.
And why a leader of any country would be rushing there to meet him when he loves the TV camera and he's happy to sit there and embarrass different leaders in front of the world media. So why, and that's what they do. So when our Prime Minister was in China this week, so one of his lackeys come out and said, I want we want, we want an iron. We, we want an iron commitment from Australia and Japan that if China invades Taiwan, you will come and help us. Like as if that's not planned to say that, why our Prime Minister is actually in China, you're wanting to commit to a war against China, why he's in China visiting China. How staged is that to bring that out and say that at the exact time while he's there? So all it's there to do is try and embarrass him, our Prime Minister and he's like, well, actually said it quite well. He said, I can't comment because I might not be in government. So it's for the government of the day to decide, which is a fair call. He may not be the Prime Minister at that stage. So he said, that's
actually a very clever comment.
For the government of the day. It's to decide that. But like America, because they're talking about, we have this deal, this AUKUS deal, it's called Australia, UK, US, where they're about to supply us with some nuclear submarines, Australia, over the next 10 years or something like that. They're going to supply, I don't know, half a dozen or something to us so we can, and they want to tie it to security in the Pacific. So what they're saying now is if we supply you these submarines, we want to guarantee off you that you will come, to the aid and help us if China and Taiwan go to war. So they're trying to tie it to this deal to send us submarines because they're like, well, we might need them submarines ourselves to go to war. So why would we be giving them to you if you won't then commit to helping us if we need to go to war? So it's quite. But then they carry on about this, America. But then they've got naval bases in Australia. They've got that Pine Gap I was telling you about, the spying station. So they can't actually just pick up and leave us because they've got a lot of their own infrastructure that they need in Australia in case there is something something going on in the Pacific. They've got naval bases. They've got storage facilities for fuel in the Northern Territory in case they need it. All this sort of stuff like that. So it's all this piss in the wind. It's all smoke and mirrors and stuff. It
is, and it's as you say, for Trump, it's all good TV. I mean, it's really just. To him, it seems like it's one big reality show, which it probably is in his mind. I mean, it's
he's good for a TV reel though. The other day, he had some African leader there. I can't remember where he was from, and he said to him, he goes, "You speak really good English." And English was the language of his country. He had no idea that English was the first language.
He doesn't have any, and he doesn't even care about anything else. It's just I've often read that, many experts, they say all he really wants is to be the most famous person in the world. That's his, he wants people to talk about him nonstop. So the more he can be in the media, the better for him. And the problem with that is not so much Trump himself, but the problem is the people behind him who will find this useful and take this to their advantage. As you always see J.D. Vance in these meetings that you talk about with foreign leaders. They come into the Oval Office with Trump, but then right next to Trump is J.D. Vance. So he's probably the next one, should.
Yeah.
Well, he is next in line.
Hopefully they won't get voted back in. So hopefully that may not happen. But
if there's going to be an election, we'll see in a couple of years,
Yeah. Let's stop speaking about politics. So I see there was some new UNESCO sites listed the other day, and some in Germany that I've actually been to. So did you read that? The Ludwig's castles there in Bavaria are now UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So
it is, yeah.
The Hof, Neuschwanstein, and Chiemsee. So
exactly. They're beautiful places. I've been there myself. Also, because what we took particular notice of was that there was some white cliffs in Denmark were also put on the list, and they were over the moon about that because that's really something special. It's chalk directly on the coast, and it's sort of falling down slowly, but it looks like cliffs, and apparently it's one of the few places in the world where you can actually see that.
Is it sort of like the White Cliffs of Dover sort of situation?
Yeah, sort of.
Denmark?
Yeah. So that list came out, and I always say, there's it's a list of things to see. Really, it should be a to-do list for all travelers, for all keen travelers.
Definitely. It added 5 sites to my collection of UNESCO places I've been.
Yeah.
So I added 2 in Cambodia, surprisingly, even though we're going there next week, and we're going to go to them again, but we'd already been there, and they announced them as UNESCO sites. So they were all to do with the Khmer Rouge and the war they had in the 1970s. So the killing fields were made a UNESCO site, which we had been to, and there's a prison in the middle of Phnom Penh called S21. So much like a concentration camp in ways where they kept political prisoners and killed them and tortured them and all that sort of horrible stuff. But so we'll go back and have another look at these sites. I remember last time we went to S21. We had kids with us, and Marley was only young, so I sort of sat outside in the courtyard with her most of the time because she didn't really want to go in, and Rebecca had a pretty good look around. So we'll
it can be
so we'll go back and revisit them.
It can be a bit brutal. I'm just getting a little bit uncertain here. Are the German concentration camps, are they on the UNESCO? I think maybe they are.
They are. Surely Auschwitz is on the list. It would have to be, wouldn't it?
The thing is, there's always this is a sensitive topic, but it really should be, for preservation for the future.
Definitely.
On UNESCO, let's check. Yes, Auschwitz, and they are.
Is Dachau on there? Is Dachau UNESCO? Where am
I? I only see Auschwitz.
Yeah, maybe only Auschwitz.
But it's something that really should be be kept in mind, and we should stay aware of that. Anton, all school children here in Germany, they go to at least one concentration camp, and so they were there. They were in Dachau just a couple of weeks ago, and it was really made an impression on Anton. He was thoughtful, and he was thinking a lot about it afterwards, and that's good. That's the way the Germans are very, very, very keen on keeping this, not repeating it. For
sure. Like I think I've been to Dachau a couple of times, and actually it changed a lot in between the first time and the second time. I'd actually been there in what the infrastructure that they built there to showcase actually what had happened there. Because I think first time I went there was like 2003, and then I didn't go back there until I think when we met you last in 2019. I think we went back there, and the infrastructure they built around it, like to showcase more information about it, was a lot better than it was the first. But like all things, things change, and it was definitely a lot more information and set out a lot better than it was the first time I went there. But I've also been to Auschwitz twice as well, and it's probably the saddest place I've ever been. I would say.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Quite funnily, well, not funnily. Nothing's funny about it. I shouldn't say that. Quite coincidentally, the first time I went there I was staying in Poland, so I went there with a Polish guy and with a German guy. So, so it was a little bit weird, but and the Polish guy, his grandfather had been there, and the German guy I was with, he was from Munich as well. He was another friend I had in Munich, and he said to me, he said, my country did this to bring glory, but only brought shame to himself. And I thought that was really, really strong wording, actually probably really summed up the situation of what happened with Germany, really.
There are places like that any traveler should see. I would say even any world citizen should see, because in these times, again, not to go back to politics, but we should be aware not to make the same mistakes. And these concentration camps are certainly a very good reminder of what not
if
to
you bury
do.
history, you can't learn from history, can you?
Exactly
and this
right.
is the problem. There's so much political correctness where where you want to pull down statues in Australia, like, they want to pull down statues of Cook because he discovered Australia and murdered, the natives, the Aboriginals or the Kooris, so Captain Cook's persona non grata. They want to pull down every statue of him, and they throw paint on his red blood on his statues in Melbourne, and and all this sort of stuff like this. But if it's not there, people can't learn about it, can they?
No,
so if you take
true.
it away, you can't just ignore it and hide it. And I think that's a bit of an issue everywhere in the world these days.
True.
We want to hide things that they did in the past, and you can't learn from it if it's not there, and it may not be acceptable now, and it probably wasn't acceptable then either, but you know what I mean? It was a different time, and that was the way they discovered places. And when you discovered places and someone was there, you you did what you did to make way for things, don't you? Nothing would have been discovered, no countries would have been colonized, it's just the way the world was back then, and that's I find it a shame.
Yeah, true. I agree. They're children's rhymes and stuff that has changed over the years, over generations in Denmark.
Yeah.
They've now revised and put in other words for people from certain places and stuff. And it's just probably the right thing to do in this day and age. But you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't ban the books or the written rhymes from back then, because it's part of history. It's when I grew up, these children's rhymes were more or less the original rhymes from 100 years ago. When
that's it.
And nowadays you wouldn't use the same words, but it's just we shouldn't forget.
I know. We just want to whitewash everything, so it's
that's not
politically. Australia Day brings up just there's been going on for years. There's a big movement to change Australia Day because we want to call it Invasion Day because that's the day the British invaded. It's disrespectful to the Aboriginals or the Kooris. So we should change it to another day. But it's changing the day doesn't change it. It still happened. So. But there's actually been a big kickback about it lately, and most people don't want it changed, but there's it was about 50-50 at one stage, and it seems to have swung back more to keeping that day as Australia Day. But once again, I mean, like I said, what happened was wrong, but by changing a day is not going to change what happened.
No, it's not.
By changing the date, I don't say Americans changing Thanksgiving, or whatever it is, because that was all to do with the Indians and things like that. So. Yeah,
really, that could be if the Indians, the Native Americans, if they started saying this is offensive to celebrate Thanksgiving,
Donald would send them to Canada or somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Well, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because yesterday or the day before yesterday, we went out with friends visiting from. They live in Mönchengladbach, up in the Ruhr district, the industrial district. They live there, and we see them. We see them on rare occasions, not at all often enough, and so they were here spontaneously, more or less, with family. So they called us and asked, we're in town. Do you want to come and hang out? So we went out for dinner. And afterwards, we followed them to the train station and waved goodbye, and they took off again. And afterwards, we realized we hadn't taken one single photo of the evening.
I know, yeah.
So we were all really pretty bummed about that. Oh, we forgot to take even as one silly photo of the evening, but we were so pleased to see each other that we just hung out and we just chatted all the way through the evening and completely forgot about taking photos. Has that happened to you guys as well?
Most definitely. It happens regularly, and it's really good to see. I guess when you get to our age, like when you get to around that 50 mark, I was watching or reading something on this. You may have some good friends that in reality, you may only see another 10 or 15 times in your life when you get to our age, when you break it down. Because if you're only seeing someone once a year, once every 18 months, time seems to fly. And you go, well, I'm really good friends with these, but I may only see them another 10 times in my life. So it's important, I guess, to stay in the moment, which you did, and not worry about the photo. But it's always nice to have a photo memory as well, isn't it?
I was just thinking, because, maybe 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been anything we would even think about. But now in this day and age where you take photos of literally everything, everything. Like we started the episode by saying everything is photographed nowadays.
Yeah, that's it. You do.
And we forgot to take photos that entire evening. It was just...
I always take photos. I think I've got photos of the couple of times we've met floating around. So in person.
Yeah.
So
and we'll
I normally do.
Yeah. We're still. Eventually we'll come back to Australia, and I know you will probably come back to Europe before we go to Australia. Yeah. And we can sit down and have like record an episode, face to face. That would be nice. That would be really nice.
I think that I'll be back in Europe probably in 2027 at some stage anyway. So I think at this stage.
In a couple of years, Yeah,
a couple of years' time. I'm waiting for Marley to leave. In Australia, we have what's called like when you work, they have a long service leave. I don't know if this is something they do anywhere else. So after 10 years, you get additional leave on top of your annual leave that you can take. So it's like a reward for being there. So this racks up from the day that you actually started, and then when you hit 10 years you can take it. And some companies allow you even better, like mine does, to take your long service leave at half pay, so then you can stretch that leave out even longer if you want. So I've got technically about 450 hours of this long service leave that I can take, but I could actually stretch that out to 900 hours if I wanted to, but it'd only be at half pay. I'd still only get paid, say, the 450 hours worth of money. So, so you can actually take more leave and get paid half the rate if you want to take. So I could, in effect, take a year off if I wanted to and get half pay, which would be enough. When you own your home and you own everything, that would be enough for me to possibly travel on and look after my house. But the problem is Rebecca doesn't have all that up yet, but she gets. But you sometimes after 7 years you can take it as well. So she hits 7 years in 2027 at her job, so she might be able to get 3 months off or so. So sometime in 2027 we might. She's been dying to go to Greece forever, so we might come to Europe for 3 months, maybe at some stage.
That would be nice.
In 2027, possibly.
Well, Alex, in her job, I don't have anything like that, but in her job, in her company, they sort of do the same. She puts money aside every month as well. So that's. It's part of the whole perks and benefits package where she's working,
So in Germany, do they have like a compulsory... It's getting off track now, we're getting back to it. Do they have like a compulsory retirement fund, like, for your pension or once you retire? So in Australia, the company I work for, every company has to pay the equivalent of 12% of your wage into a retirement fund every week. So it doesn't come out of your wage, that's on top of your wage. So so we don't actually submit it. So does that happen? It's the
same thing here. It's the same thing here. Yeah. And you have to be actively working for somewhere between 30 and 40 years totally. And then you are entitled to get, pension. Retirement.
Yeah, okay. In Australia too, you can't take it till maybe 65. It might even be 68 now or something. You can't take it early, but then you pay like 50% tax or 60% tax on it as a way to stop people from wanting to take it. I think there's ways around it where you can take it if you buy a house or something. I think they'll let you invest in property now, maybe with it, but you can't just take it to go and buy a car or go on a holiday.
We have the same. Like yeah, we have the same things both in Germany and Denmark. So it's sort of taken care of for you. from the government. So, but there are problems with, because particularly in Germany, the housewives, traditionally they have not worked. They stayed home, and should the husband die before them, which is statistically what happens, the wives live longer. There are actually what they call Altersarmut, which is like, old age poverty amongst elderly women, because their husbands died, and many of the perks and benefits stopped when they died. So and they never really worked. They took care of house and children and family.
Definitely.
So that is a bit of an issue, in fact, in Germany.
I think old age poverty is an issue everywhere. I think, especially if you weren't lucky enough to own your own home, basically, or something like that. Because, in Australia, I don't know how people who are on an old age pension, as they call it, or the equivalent to unemployment benefits or whatever it is that the government hand out to people that don't have a job. I don't know how that would pay for accommodation and food in today's society, because in Melbourne you wouldn't get a apartment for under $600 Australian a week, or something, $700, and that'd be right on the outskirts of the city in the friggin' in the Bronx, or somewhere like that. So
nothing fancy.
I'm unsure how people can actually afford to live that don't have any savings or don't own a house. I think it would be
even if you go
terrible slog.
Even if you go to a retirement home, you pay rent, you pay food, you pay everything. It's not.
What I mean.
It's not just. I said to Alex, at some point we need to talk. This is too early, but at some point we need to discuss if for instance if I become disabled and can't really, and I need intensive care and stuff.
Yeah.
Particularly, we have a friend who's got Parkinson's now, aggressively, and she's younger than us. But the prediction is that she will live 3 years, another 3 years max. And I said to Alex, if should something like this happen to me, we need to have a plan. We need to have a plan also for when to say enough is enough, and deal with assisted suicide and stuff like that. So I don't.
So is that legal in Germany?
No, it's not. No, it's not. But I want to. Yeah. I'm stubborn enough. I want to decide. The government should not decide this for me. I want to decide this, and also the remains. Where can you be cremated, and what happens with the remains once you're just dust? I said, I want to make sure that I can be spread over the sea or whatever my wishes may be. Yeah. So these are things that in our age, maybe within the next 10 years, we should find a way to settle things and get our things in order.
Yeah.
So that's so
can't ignore it forever, can we?
No, but what I wanted to say with this was just that I don't want to go to a retirement home. That's not for me, because from what I've seen, both in Germany and in Denmark, it's not really. It's not very dignifying. There's a thing as dignity that I want to live with dignity, and you can't do that in today's retirement homes in either Germany or in neither Germany or in Denmark. It's just not it's not dignifying, and I don't want to end there. So before it comes to that, I would rather just make sure that I can get away from this world in any way I decide to get away with. Yeah,
literally, we should all be staying home as long as we possibly can.
But the governments usually
there's a big push for that in Australia. That's what actually Rebecca does. She works in aged care and organises aged care packages, like, the funding from the government and what we can do to, what services we can provide to keep you in your house for longer.
Yeah.
Do you need someone to come and, for instance, if you're not real mobile, you need someone to come and shower you every second day, or something like that. Do we get someone to come and mow your lawn once a month or something? Can we get someone to come and put some handrails, or take out your steps,
Exactly.
Put ramps in, things like that to try and keep. I mean, it works two ways. It's better for the person, and it's better for the government, because the government don't have to build, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nursing homes, I guess, every year, then private companies build them, and then they're not up to standard, and then there's a whole shitstorm with that, and it becomes.
For most people, our generation, what would we do in a retirement home? I mean, just sit there and playing board games, and I don't know. It's not a life for me. And I think there were some rather funny stories in the media going on recently in Denmark, where they said, today's retirees, they really don't want to hear folk music, and they want to hear Led Zeppelin in the retirement homes.
Yeah, that's it.
They want to hear heavy rock.
From that generation. Weren't they? You know what? I guess if either of us get Alzheimer's, it won't matter, because we won't remember if we're in a retirement home or not. I guess that's that's about it, really. But yeah, I'm happy to stay home as long as I can. Hopefully,
absolutely.
And it's more possible if you own your home, I guess.
Absolutely, I agree. So Mark, are we next week? You're not there, right?
No, I'm away for hang on, what's next Friday? So Friday. I will be away for the next 3 weeks, so it'll be nearly a month until we fire back on, I think.
So we'll in August we'll record a couple of episodes. Then I go away for 3 weeks,
and we might be 6 weeks.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's I look forward to see everything you do on on various social posts.
Yep.
Record maybe some short videos and upload to
I will. I'll put them on our Facebook page and YouTube channel for sure while I'm away. But so I think I'm back August 10, which is a Sunday. So if you're away after that, then we'll be back in September, I guess, won't we?
Yeah. I will be there in the mid. We won't leave until the 22nd of August.
Okay, so we might get a couple.
Probably get 1 or 2 episodes down there in the middle of August, and then we're away until mid-September. So that's how it goes.
And then I'm going away again at the start of October to Bali for 2 weeks, so it'll be we'll be a bit sporadic for the next 3 or 4 months, won't we? But that's okay.
But
it'll
anyways,
give us plenty of time to think of things to talk about.
That's the thing. This is originally was a travel podcast. We wander off topics, but it's what we do. Talk about our experiences in terms of seeing the world and what's going on in the world. So, Yep. Gives us lots to talk about. But say hello to Beck and have a safe trip.
Say hello to Alex and Anton, and we'll be in touch.
We will. Take care.
Okay, take it easy, mate. Have a good weekend. It's not the weekend. It is the weekend, isn't it? I don't even know what day it is.
It's the weekend. Yeah, it's Friday.
It is, isn't it? It's Friday, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Stay up.